For my first meal on Monday, I actually went out with someone who has just served as a mentor to me over the years. But in any case, I ended up having a burger with two burger patties with the egg, and there was some lettuce on the bottom. And instead of getting fries, I went with a side order of salad. And honestly, I picked out most of the things out of the salad and pretty much just had the lettuce. And like I said before, typically when I go out, I do consume lettuce with my burgers, and it doesn't bother me, and I'm fine with doing that. I try to stay away from the tomatoes and like the extra things. But yeah, so that was my first meal on Monday. Here is my second meal for Monday. I'm gonna have a burger patty with a chicken thigh and some chicken breast, and I'm going to mix in some sour cream. Like I said, I try not to do too much dairy. Butter is pretty much it most of the time, but occasionally I'll throw in some cheese, and obviously I'm doing the sour cream. So here is my first meal for Tuesday. I have two of these beef burgers, and then I was able to go and get some duck eggs. So there's some duck eggs, and I cooked it in beef tallow and seasoned it with salt. Here's my second meal for Tuesday. I had some salmon, a few pieces of salmon, and then I just added some sour cream. So I guess this is my week for dairy. It was delicious. Here is my first meal for Wednesday. I have some oxtail that I cooked in my Instant Pot. And you can click on the link above to see how I make it in the Instant Pot. Here is my second meal, and I just had a Carnivore shrimp pizza. This was really good. Hang on until the end and you'll see how I made this very simple but delicious recipe. Here is my first meal for Thursday. I have some leftover oxtail and 4 duck eggs. Here is my first meal for Friday. I'm having a ribeye steak with 3 eggs. Here is my second meal for Friday. I have some lamb that I cooked in beef tallow, seasoned with salt and some rosemary. For this delicious carnivore meatza, you will need 1 pound of ground meat. You can use ground beef or ground chicken. I chose to use ground chicken for this particular recipe. Then you will also need 1 egg for each pound of ground meat. I also added 3 pieces of bacon and a few pieces of shrimp and some shredded raw cheese. And you can season with just salt, or if you can tolerate other spices, you can add that into the mix. So let's just go into All right, you're just going to add the ground meat with the egg and whatever seasonings you're going to add into a container. And don't do like me and use such a small container. Big family problems. This is the only thing that was clean, quite honestly, at the moment of filming. But in any case, so you're going to add all of this into a container, and you're just going to take your hands and simply work the mixture together, the egg, the meat, and the different seasonings. Not a long process at all. So once you are done doing that, you're going to transition to the next step. All right, now I'm just adding the mixture to a hot pan that had some bacon grease in it, and I'm just using my hand to kind of flatten it out. You can use a spatula or a spoon, and then you're just going to try to get it, to be thin, unless you like, your pizza a little bit thicker, but I like it to be a little bit thin. So I kind of spread it out, and once I am done with that, I then allow the chicken to cook on the stovetop for about 5 minutes or so. What it looks like after about 5 minutes, and there's a lot of liquid, so I just kind of drain the liquid off, and then I pop it in the oven for a few minutes on broil. You don't want it to be super dry, so it doesn't have to be in there that long. So once I pop it in the oven and it's cooked all the way through, I proceed to add the toppings. So it's not a lot of cheese, and I wasn't trying to overwhelm myself with too much cheese. It's just more for the flavor. So I add that, and then I put it in the oven probably like for a minute or so just to let the cheese melt. And then since the shrimp and the bacon are already warm, I just added them. I didn't pop this in the oven again. I just added the shrimp and the bacon, and that was it. So the entire cooking process, I would say, took no more than 10 to 15 minutes, and the end product was absolutely delicious and super, super filling. So I hope that you give it a try. And as usual, I had somebody else in my house right there to sample it with me, and she seemed to have enjoyed it. All right, you be blessed.